having a great time with us today. We're having an amazing time. For sports stories that made the rounds in 2023, Aaron Akerejola joins us now. Good afternoon, Aaron.
Yeah, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to you, Doctor. Good afternoon. And
good afternoon, Aaron.
We had quite a lot of stories that dominated the headlines when it comes to sports. Well, let's try to narrow it down today. And we'll start it off from the local scene. Well, actually, as I say, charity begins at home. And it doesn't get bigger than Victor Osimhen, Nigerian's own Victor Osimhen, dominating the CAF Awards and actually winning it for the very first time since 1999. The last time a Nigerian actually won it for the men was our own ex-captain of the Super Eagles, talking about Kanu Nwankwo. And ever since then, it's been very, very dark for Nigeria because we didn't have a player, although people felt Mikel Obi should have won it in 2013, but that actually beat the dust. And I must also say kudos to also Azizat Oshoala, who was picking up her 6th award. And for Victor Osimhen, why this was very, very impressive was the fact that 26 goals in the regular season for himself and SSC Napoli, helping them to the title for the first time in more than 3 decades, and also scoring 31 goals in all competition, just made it a very remarkable year. And also going into the Nations Cup next year, or probably we'll say next month, all will be on his shoulders to actually deliver big as the best player on the continent. Kudos to Nigeria, kudos to Victor Osimhen, kudos to Azizat Oshoala. And Nigerians dominated that particular award because for the goalkeepers and other awards, I must actually say that Nigeria were the shining lights for CAF in the year in view, 2023. I must say kudos to them. Away from that quickly, another story that actually dominated, still in football, but this time around, it was counter-controversy, with the fact that in August, I must say that it's always a pleasure to report sports globally for Rise News. I was in Australia for the World Cup, and while Spain beat the Lionesses of England 1-0, everyone thought probably that would have been the headline or the biggest headline coming out from the Women's World Cup. And no, it was that particular medal ceremony that actually changed everything, with the disgraced president now, Rubiales, Luis Rubiales, planting a kiss on the cheek, or on the mouth rather, of Jenny Hermoso. And it just opened a can of worms, and it was going back and forth up until FIFA decided, finally, after he resigned, and they were going to give him a 3-year ban. And not only that alone, we thought that ended in October, with FIFA banning him for 3 years, and also the Spanish authorities also banning him for 3 years. And in December, there were talks that Rubiales also maybe grappled or fondled with some females from other teams at some point in time, and that investigation is still very open. And you know what they say, when it rains, it pours. And that is what has happened to Luis Rubiales. We would have thought that a man who was under the spotlight for corruption won the World Cup, and he used that as an opportunity to probably lift himself within the Spanish Federation, would actually sink so low. And that is how football is at the moment. He's actually been ostracized, and I don't think he'll be getting close to football for the next 3 years. Still speaking about controversy, this one also brought it home for us. It was rather unfortunate because in 2022, everyone hailed the superlative performance of our own Tobi Amusan in Oregon when she won the World Championship and took the hurdles and the athletics by storm. But so it came as a surprise that in July, we heard about the provisional suspension of Tobi Amusan, no thanks to the fact that she had failed 3 whereabouts. And the IAU looked like they had something against her, and it went to the disciplinary committee. The disciplinary committee decided and said she hadn't violated anything, and she was actually reinstated, but that had taken a mental toll from her. And going into that particular World Championship, which happened in August, she wasn't in any great shape to actually defend the title, and it didn't end well for her. But ultimately, the IAU did not stop there. In September, they still went back and said they were going to the Court of Arbitration for Sports, and they still insist that they believe Tobi Amusan is guilty and should pay for it, or should answer for her crimes. And it's unfortunate this is happening. They've not said anything about that. It's still in arbitration at the moment. We are still hoping. We are hoping that the Court of Arbitration for Sports will rule in her favor. because it wasn't entirely good for another Nigerian who was an athlete, talking about Divine Oduduru. In July also, it was just coincidental, in July also, he was actually handed a 6-year ban. 4 years for actually possession of banned substances and 2 years for attempted to take banned substances, of course, all linked to the disgraced American doctor, Dr. Eric Lira, who was also fingered in the Blessing Okagbari's issue, and the FBI had done a lot of extensive work, and he mentioned that Divine was one of his customers, and Divine ultimately paying the price for that 6 years. Before he will return, it will be 2029, and if you'd ask me, that is almost over for Divine Oduduru, although Divine still insists till the very last sentence, he still insists that he is innocent. But it's unfortunate the evidence are stacked up against him, and as it stands right now. But before we quickly wrap it up, I must actually say that one of the biggest ones that actually came out from sports in 2023 has to be the overarching dominance of Saudi Arabia in everything that is happening in sports. From live golf to soccer to boxing to Formula One to cricket, just name it all. Saudi Arabia right now seems to be taking sports by storm.
Well, when you talk about Saudi Arabia, let's also talk about the example of Ronaldo. Ronaldo going to join the Saudi Pro League and more or less opening the way for a number of other stars who decided to, well, as you will say, follow the money and go to the Saudi Pro League. What you can compare to that also is Lionel Messi joining the MLS in Miami, and creating in Miami what you may call Messi mania, with his performance there. There's another, you talked about the Women's World Cup. First time that the Women's World Cup will be held in the Southern Hemisphere, hosted as it was by Australia and New Zealand, July, August. Yes, you've concentrated on the scandal of Rubiales, but I think what is more remarkable is how that Women's World Cup turned out to be the most attended, the most watched ever in the history of a Women's World Cup, and how in 2023 we saw greater attention being paid to women's football, particularly even at the league level in England. Only on Saturday or so, we had the first female, officiating in the English Premier League. That's how, football, women's football has grown. And, from the results of the Women's World Cup, you have Spain, right? Leading. You have England, coming second as runners-up. Mary Epps has just been named the Player of the Year by the BBC. You have Sweden coming third, and Australia coming fourth. Formula One, we talked 19 to the dozen on this program in the course of the year about the dominance of Max Verstappen. 53 career wins, the most unbroken sequence of victories in 1 year, the most dominant in a single season, and although the most remarkable Grand Prix that people remember was the only one that Red Bull did not win, and that's the Singapore Grand Prix. And then Djokovic also. It was the year of Novak Djokovic, 24, making history and appearing unstoppable. With Djokovic still dominating in 2024, with Max Verstappen still dominating in 2024. These are questions that hang in the air. It was also the year of Iga Swiatek dominating women's tennis, and also the year of Coco Gauff winning the US Open, and also Carlos Alcaraz, winning at the Wimbledon in a very remarkable manner. So for me, these are some of the highlights, in the course of the year.
Well, thank you so much, Aaron, for giving us the recap of the year. We'll definitely see you again tomorrow, and of course towards the end of the year as you just wrap up in terms of sports. Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas
and
to
Xander.
Anyway, thank you very much, Aaron.